The Old Gold Club. Powered by Wolverhampton Building Supplies. With Mikey Burrows and Chris Iwelumo.
Welcome along to the Old Gold Club. I'm Mikey Burrows, alongside me, Chris Iwelumo. Our guest this week spent only 2 years at Molineux, yet he was the first man in 8 years to outscore Steve Bull. He fired Wolves to a remarkable FA Cup run, including a penalty shootout win over Sheffield Wednesday, and he was the man famously or infamously punched by John McGinlay in the playoff semi-final. Welcome to the Old Gold Club, David Kelly, or Ned Kelly.
Hi, guys.
As you are more well known. And there is only one place to start. There is the main thing that I desperately want to talk to you about. What did you do to make John McGinlay punch you?
I honestly don't know. Hi, guys. I don't know. I remember it quite vividly, really. It was 100% as close as you can get to the perfect red card that he got away with. So there was a corner came in, there was a bit of a scuffle, as usual. There was a melee of bodies going on, and we all came together, and sort of half push, half pull, and then John gives me a little bit of a tickle on the face. I go down to straight red all day long, and it doesn't happen.
Could you stay on your feet?
Probably. Was I supposed to?
Oh, I've been there. Trust me, I've been in that exact position in the Wolves shot. It's quite interesting because obviously the previous part we're speaking about VAR, and I think looking at a situation like that, John McGinley's seen red and he's gone, isn't he? Yeah.
The referee, you could see the tape from all those years ago. The referee was stood 5-6 yards away from it. He saw what went on, and in his opinion,
because you both got yellow carded.
We did, yeah. Yeah, I'm not too sure what I got a yellow card for.
It's the referee's reaction there as well, because he goes to McGinley, he grabs McGinley, he takes him away from the situation. It's very evident that he's seen.
That's right.
Exactly what's happened, but like the game has changed, the officiating has changed.
Much more professional.
It is,
absolutely,
isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think it's. But I'm very surprised. Just talking on the V, I'm surprised that you're saying, because it is. I had the exact same argument as you, saying you go sit in the pub or you're watching the game with your mate and you can go, oh my, look at the decision he got wrong there, or look at that incident that happened. Whereas, isn't that where the game's got to go now? Because there is so much dependent on it.
Chris, I think that's where it's going. Absolutely. It's coming in. It's going to be sorted, and we'll obviously debate as we go further on.
Yeah.
I just think that from the officials' point of view, I think that everybody's saying that they need more help with everything. I get all that, but I like the fact that they're all honest. Referees and lines people are honest, and they make mistakes like players do, like coaches do. You drag your striker off, you get booed. You put a new player on, you get booed. The manager's getting hammered.
Yeah.
And it's all part of the show, isn't it? It's all part of what football's all about. It's all opinion. Nobody's opinion is more valuable than the next person's.
But this is the thing, though, because, say, we've been discussing this on our podcast that you can download now from iTunes, Spotify and other places. We're talking about being the biggest injustice that many Wolves fans feel. And in the context of it, because Loom's brought this up, that, certain things happen in games and we debate them and stuff, but it's the difference between you being promoted and being a Premiership football team and the players that you played with and people like Steve Bull getting to play in the Premier League, Premiership in their career and not. Because John McGinlay, if VAR is in that time, he gets sent off. You play against 10 men for extra time. Likelihood is you go on and win, get to the final. Bob's your uncle, you're in the Premiership.
Possibly. Nobody's ever going to know, are they? And that's the beauty of sport. From one small mistake to a huge decision by an official. It's why we all come back. It's why we all want to go. It's why we all want to watch. It's why it's so good.
Okay, I want you to answer this then. If he does get sent off, would you have won that game?
Yes, because he scored.
So this is he's trying to be fair here, Lou.
Yeah, it's. I've thought about it, the VAR situation, but the World Cup shows us all, doesn't it, that they didn't get them all right either. Even with television replays, they weren't all 100%. There was still a debate. So I get all that part of it. I just think that if John had got sent off on that day, yes. So the answer is yes. We would have won the game.
And you'd have been in the Premiership with Wolves.
Possibly. Because who's to know, after however long was left, that they wouldn't have scored a last-minute equaliser. We wouldn't have made a mistake and conceded a goal, and somebody else would have scored. You don't know, do you? Nobody can do that. We haven't got the time machine just yet. It's coming. It's on its way. Some clever guy in somewhere is going to invent one. But I just think that I still think that it's not perfect. It's not ideal. Honestly, I know you're both shocked.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Like I've been in your company before, but never as close as this. And your character, you're infectious. Now you were brought to the club to score goals, and something that you done properly. First time in 8 years, I think that Steve Bould had been outscored. How did it feel when you came into the dressing room that had such big characters, big names? Was that daunting for yourself?
No. I was really fortunate, Chris. I'd played for really good clubs. Just been promoted at Newcastle.
Yeah.
Kevin had told me that he was replacing me, and that he didn't think I was going to get the game time that I wanted. I asked him who he was replacing me with, and he went, Peter Beardsley. I went, I'd sign Peter Beardsley instead of me. So I got replaced by Peter. And coming to the Wolves was an absolute no-brainer for me because it's a huge club, huge fan base. And I thought, right, next chapter, let's go.
As easy as that?
Yeah, it's easy as that. I'd spoke to a few people. I think I'd phoned Bully, actually, and asked him what wages he was on to try and sort of negotiate my deal. I don't think Fat had told me. He did, actually. He actually said to me, he said, I can't tell you, he said, because I'm on a different wage level to everybody else.
That's why I should have told you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's it was honestly it was an easy move for me. Graham had a conversation with Graham in Birmingham, and he was trying to go places. He was trying to get the club to the next level.
See, this was Graham Turner.
Yeah.
At the time, and obviously then that change happened during your first season.
Yeah. Sad that he went, of course. Graham Taylor came in, and nearly got us there, didn't he? We very, very nearly got there.
Well, you would have got there if John McGinlay had got sent off.
And if we'd have had VAR.
See, this is what baffles me. Is it a case of you've had so long now between that happened? It's, 23 years?
Yeah.
Is your view on it now different to what it was at the time? Because you must have been angry.
After the game, we were furious. I remember Graham in the dressing room going absolutely bananas, and you were supposed to give a certain amount of time between the referee going in to see the referees as a management staff, and he was kicking the door in. He really was. He was furious. But I suppose that he himself always used to say that things level themselves out. You get a dodgy decision one week, you get the dodgy decision yourself in the next week. And he was like quite balanced in the way he explained things to us, and that's just how I see it. I've got nothing against John McGinlay to this day.
There's a lot of Wolves fans who do.
It's just one of them things. I've got away with certain things on football pitches that I wouldn't like to mention.
I think it does balance itself out, but I think at that period of time, I'm watching. We watched the video before we came on air, and you walk into the referee. And Mikey said it himself. Like you're walking to the referee thinking he's seen red here.
He's
so
off.
You basically you shake his hand
to say goodbye.
Mikey said there himself, you shouldn't have shook his hand. Yeah. It's just like little moments, isn't it? That it's like it can map out.
Yeah. When the referee called me across, because obviously he was taking John off, and he was right next to him, of course.
Yeah.
I'm walking across thinking straight red. He's off here. Brilliant. That's what I was thinking. Great, he's going to get a red card here. And as I've gone over, I am actually thinking, yeah, well, you'll be off. And I was shocked for me to get a yellow card. And I actually said to the ref, what have I done?
And was there not a reaction at that moment when he wasn't sent off, and surely the players and yourself thinking, what's going on here?
Yeah, it was, and
the rest, yeah.
and what then happens, and sadly for us as Wolves players and everything, and Wolves supporters, we got knocked out.
Because is there an element for you then that you look at it and kind of feel as if you shouldn't have been in that position in the playoffs anyway, that you wanted to get the automatic that year?
Yeah, I think we were good enough to have done it, and towards the end of the season, the results didn't go our way as much as we would have liked for it to happen. Of course, I'd been promoted before with Newcastle, and this was the next opportunity. And the build up to the game, or the build up to the weeks prior to the game, it's all about trying to become a Premier League football player. Because that's what you want. And I'd missed the opportunity when Kevin had got rid of me at Newcastle, and that was the thing. But as I say, I see it as it's just a football decision.
Looking back now, you said there the results never went the way. Why? What was the?
I don't know really. Actually, you look back and you try and sort of piece together. You look at the fixtures and you look back and where you played, how you played, where you didn't get a result, where you should. But because Chris, we all look and think before the game, we're going to win today.
Yeah, I know.
You do, don't you? You've got that feeling, and then you come off afterwards and you think, what happened? Why didn't I perform? Why didn't he perform? Why didn't he? What happened? And it's the nature of sport that people don't turn up at certain times.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand that.
Because it's just when you look at that squad. I mean, I was looking back through it when we were preparing for you coming in, and that squad that you had almost had like an ideal mix of, there was people who had plenty of Wolves experience, who'd been there a while, Steve Bulls, Andy Thompsons, Robbie Dennisons. There was the cult figures from within it, the John DeWolfs and whatnot. From a strike force point of view, you, Bully and Don, you had young up-and-coming players that were in and around it, exciting players like Steve Froggatt, experience in Shirtliff and Cowans and whatnot.
We were decent.
Everything seemed to be there for that to be a really good team.
Yeah, and the long and short of it, at the end, we came up short. That's what happens all the time in football. We all go back and look at different teams that we've been involved in and played with, and always have that. I do these days, as an old coach now. I always look back and think, could have done a little bit better, should have done a little bit better. It's a little bit disappointing, And supporters do it all the time because it's their whole life revolves around the football club that they support, and they get more disappointment than any players will ever get.
I think as footballers, I think we're probably our own worst critic.
Absolutely.
How were you? After a performance, how much depth would you go into?
It used to completely ruin my weekend. My wife used to say, you need to have a chat with yourself because we've got kids now, and you got to start being happy on a Sunday. And it was awful. I used to be such a miserable so-and-so. But
you learned though, didn't you? Then you put that things into practice, and the next game you know exactly what you need to do, isn't it?
Monday morning, start again. It's all gone. When I've never been you analyse the game as a player and as a coach. You analyse it over the weekend, and you go through bits and bobs sometimes at the start of the week. I was always trying and always wanting to put it to bed really quickly, so then you could focus on the next one that's coming. And I found that through my coaching career as well, that I try and sort of evaluate what's went on, and then sort of try and quickly move on as best you can, because you've got to rebuild again. You've got to start again. You've got to prepare for the next game.
Yeah.
Is that what made Graham Taylor good?
Yeah, I didn't realise how good Graham was until I actually left the club. It's really weird, and it sounds strange, but he wrote me a letter when I left, just to explain his decision of why he sold me and why I went. You get a WhatsApp or a Twitter or a Facebook, whatever these days, wouldn't you? And I went up to Sunderland and had a mixed time at Sunderland, but looking back, I realised what a really good manager he was. And of course he went about a month after I'd left. He got fired, which was obviously disappointing for him. But he knew the game. He was a really good tactician. He was really good on the training ground, and I really liked working for him. And as I say, when I left, I realised what I thought of him, having worked with him for a short period of time.
So obviously, an absolute legend of a man, and everyone got so many good words. But what you went to obviously, and what was the difference? You said that you really realised how good he was. What was it that made him made him what he was?
I think his preparation. I think
Yeah.
that how he tried to prepare the team. He was always talking about double headers. He was always talking about, although you're playing a double header in 5 months apart, you play Exeter at home,
Yeah.
and then you play them again in January.
Yeah.
So he was always talking about double headers. He was always talking about getting 4 points against that team, or outdoing that team, getting 6 points against that team. And that's how he sort of sorted it. Although they were not quick turnaround games, he was always looking. So you win on a Saturday, he'd write it down, beat Bolton. When we're playing Bolton again in 3 months' time, beat them again, we get 4, and eventually those point systems would then end up getting promoted, because if you get the better of a team twice,
Yeah.
you're going to end up in the top 2. And it was how he sort of built and how he thought about things, which I quite liked and was really respected him for.
Was he very hands-on, like man management,
Yeah.
person to person? Like,
Yeah, he was. He was always involved. Steve Harrison was his coach. H was brilliant, really, really, really good coach, great guy, and I thought they worked really well together.
Because how did that work then when you suddenly weren't in the team?
Oh, it was a nightmare. Yeah, I wanted to kill him. I did. He was just like, Gaffer, come on. And I wasn't one for, which you said earlier on about how I coach these days, and how I see things differently. Because I was a nightmare. If I was out of the team, I was a nightmare because I was miserable. I just wanted to play. I just wanted to play first team football all the time. And if I was out of the team, I could cause mayhem at times. Awful.
When you say mayhem, I think it should hurt you not to play.
Yeah.
I think the first thing you do, you tap on the manager's door. You say,
All the time.
What can I do to get in your team?
Yeah.
What am I not doing? What needs to be better? Now I agree with that. I think too many players today are comfortable not to be playing.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they sit in the stand.
When you say you're a nightmare, you still go about work as professional
Yes,
as you can,
absolutely.
train as best as you can. But like you say, you're
miserable.
Yeah.
Gaffer, can I have a chat?
Yeah.
Ned, I had a chat with you yesterday.
Yeah.
yeah, but we're playing on Saturday, so what's the story? Just train, be better in training, which is always the answer from everybody. Do your work on the training ground. So I was never an issue with training or stuff like that, or messing sessions up, and that wasn't the case. I was just so disappointed that I wasn't playing on the Saturday.
Did he ever fully explain why? Because, I mean, you'd scored, 22 goals? You made the most appearances out of anybody in that season, and we're going to talk about the FA Cup run in a minute. But between the FA Cup and getting to the playoffs, I think you made 54 appearances, 22 goals, the first time in 8 years anybody had scored more than Bully, and then you're not in the team.
Bully got fit.
Was that simply it?
Not just simply that. He'd signed Don. Gaffer had signed Ralphie. Ralphie was a really good signing for us as well. Bully had been injured for a little while, and 3 into 2 didn't go. He saw it as 2 strikers. He didn't see it as the days of playing a 3 up. 3 out and out strikers up 25 years ago would never have happened. It was 2 strikers, 4 midfield players, and 2 wide player, and back 4. So 3 into 2 didn't go, and of course, if he's playing Bully and Don, or he's playing Don and myself, one of us are missing out. And his trade-off, as I said earlier on about the letter that he sent me, was that he needed money to buy a midfield player where he thought, and it was I can't think what the guy who he signed when I left, but he wanted to get some money in to replace the striker, because he got an overload of strikers with a midfield player. Atkins was the boy who won the league at Blackburn.
Is it Mark Atkins?
Mark Atkins, yeah. He signed him after I went, and he signed him, and he financed the money that he got from me on him, and he wanted the midfield player.
And that letter, it was just basically a reason why.
Yeah.
It did go into a little bit more depth as well, because obviously you had a fantastic relationship with him.
He told me that he hadn't he had to finance what he thought was going to be an area in his team where he was overloaded up front.
Yeah.
He wanted another midfield player, and the finance had to come from somewhere, and I was a trade-off. And as I say, I haven't got an issue. I hadn't got an issue with him at all. It was just a football decision.
In the benefit of hindsight, and this has come up quite a bit on this podcast already in the episodes we've done, would you have preferred to stay, given how everything turned out?
Bully says to me a while ago, "You should have stayed." And I said, but at the time, when the decision was, when I was out the team, and then I found out that I mean, Sunderland are a huge club as well.
Yeah.
You know, were interested in me. I said at the time the decision was quite an easy decision as well. I'm not playing in the team. I want to play first team football. I might have to go. And Bully's saying, stop. At the time he was saying, you know, stay. You know, and it just wasn't to be.
I just find it interesting
It's
how
the
many
exact same,
times.
exact same. You know, I've got we're playing in the Premier League. I've got a year left, and Burnley come in offering me a 3-year contract. And I had that chat we said to Mick, and what he said, like, you're going to play some games, you'll be on the bench, you might not even make the bench. What have they offered you? They matched the contract in the Championship, and it is, you got to think about security and all that as well at the end of it.
Scott Goldborn was on the other week, and he's exactly the same.
Yeah. I was thinking about playing on the Saturday.
Yeah,
that's as far as I got forward. I wasn't thinking about the next contract or more money or anything.
Just wanting to play.
I wanted to play, you know. And Graham wasn't playing me. I remember sitting on the bench. I think it was at Southend, thinking, I've got to get in somebody's team here. You know, what's going on? And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't want to sit on this bench. I want to get on the pitch. And it was driving me bananas. And Bully kept saying, stay. Just, you know, give it a bit more time. And I'm going, I've got to go, mate. I've got to go.
You did obviously feature an awful lot, as we mentioned, that year before. Actually, part of the thing when we were looking at this, the FA Cup, because everyone remembers that run. We've just been watching the Sheffield Wednesday penalty shootout, which we'll get to in a minute. I'd forgotten you had Wolves reached the quarterfinals the year before as well. You had a really great spell in the FA Cup in those couple of years.
We were all right. We had a good team. Yeah, it's you know, the times, because the ground, everybody and anybody who plays here, the ground jumps when the team are doing well. The ground vibrates. It really does, and you can feel it as a player on the pitch. I've always thought you can feel it. You can feel that connection. So when you're playing well and you're doing well, you can feel the togetherness. You know, and we've done quite well in the FA Cup a few times.
Well, speaking about yourself in the FA Cup, you were outstanding. Do you think it's kind of lost its way a little bit, how people regard it?
I still think it's the greatest competition in world football. I think for the very, very big clubs, I think that I think they've lost that. I don't know whether respect is the right word for it, but I think that they've got other bigger fishes to fry, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas for everybody else, you know, you watch the FA Cup over the weekend, all these teams, these little the Chorleys and Mansfields and all these different types of clubs that are involved in it. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it takes you back for when you were younger, about watching the FA Cup and watching the players actually going through the rounds and getting closer and closer and closer to the big match, because the big match is the best game of the season, in my opinion. Yeah. It really is, you know, much better than the Champions League. I love the FA Cup. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Well, because you mentioned going through the rounds. It's one of those things that fascinates me sometimes, because when you look at that 1995 run, actually, you were 2-0 down at Mansfield. That nearly never happened. Yeah. It was your goal that got them back into it.
Did it end up 3-2?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Graham Taylor was manager.
I think you might have got a couple in that game.
Yeah. Did Wolfie score?
I will
you
check
need to check that out. Yeah. But yeah, I think he flipped at half time, the gaffer, and I think if I remember this right, he actually sent us out the dressing room early to stand on the pitch to collect our thoughts and decide as a team what we're going to do. 2-0 down at half time, you're thinking, yeah, I think we need to have a chat with each other. And I remember going out thinking, right, come on, you know, we're supposed to be quite decent, us lot. Let's get going.
You were 2-0 down after 10 minutes. You score after 52. Dennison and then Mills completes the turnaround.
Lee Mills, gosh, he wasn't bad as well, Millsy, you know. He was decent, Millsy.
The big man, yeah. And then obviously you went on to Sheffield Wednesday. That game must have been. I see how excited you're getting just watching it before we come on there. But
incredible game. Kevin Pressman, the Sheffield Wednesday goalkeeper, scored the best penalty ever. Ever. I still haven't seen a better penalty than him scoring that. And you know, sadly for Chris at the end of it, you know, he goes and misses, but brilliant for us.
Well, because this is the thing, that a couple of weeks back we did a question to people about the greatest game that Wolves fans had watched, and a lot of people brought up that Sheffield Wednesday game, and it's not because there's lots of goals in it.
No.
I mean, it's 1-1 in the replay, but it's the penalty shootout. It's the Kevin Pressman penalty. It's the fact that Chris Waddle in a shootout for the first time since Italia 90. And when we were watching it, you see John DeWolf giving him some absolute pelters as he's walking up to take the penalty. We'll talk about him on the podcast extra, by the way. But that night, and you mentioned about Molineux bouncing when it's going right, that kind of sums it up, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, absolutely. You know, the first two penalties, Tomo, the greatest penalty taker ever, misses. How does the midget miss? It's like, what are you doing? Because he was brilliant at pens, Tomo, absolutely brilliant. Robbie misses, and then Sid scores, doesn't he? So, and gets us that little sort of window back into it. You know, but you can see from, like you just said there about Wolfie when he steps back and then Chris walks up. Now, my penalty was a no pressure penalty.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I'm sitting saying, you're walking up.
I'm terrible at taking penalties as well.
Yeah, but you've stepped up. Like you've seen in the video there, you see Chris trying to kind of, I think he's trying to trick away. He didn't want to take it, didn't he? You've stepped up. That penalty is massive.
Yeah, I didn't sort of see it that way because I wasn't very good. I've never ever been very good at penalties. I used to take them because I used to think, well, I've got a chance of scoring. I've got 50-50 opportunity. And that's what I used to think. I've got a chance here. But yeah, I didn't see it at the time. Walking up at the time, I thought, it's no pressure penalty really, because you know we're probably not going to go through. So I score. They're going to score, and it's going to be all over. Little did we know.
Having gone through
if it
that...
had gone into VAR with that penalty going on there.
Don't start me off again. Having gone through that, got through that, having beaten Leicester, you score again, and suddenly you're thinking, blimey, we're on a charge here.
The Leicester game was a great game as well.
Yeah.
It really was.
So how disappointing was it then to have what happened against Palace?
Yeah, massively, because it was, again, what we were just saying there, Chris, about, you know, the stage is set and you're already willing and able to go, and you don't play so well because we didn't play so well on the day. You know, Palace were the better team, and you know they end up knocking us out, but we just didn't turn up. But we turned up the other games before. It just didn't happen that day.
It's funny how that works sometimes, isn't it? You can almost feel like your name's written on the trophy, and then in a flash, it's not.
That's football. Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, when you cross that line, just little moments in a match can change it. You know, I remember being under the caution a game, then all of a sudden, someone just goes and puts in a challenge, and it goes, right, here we go, we're in a match now, and
there's a difference.
That is
that just one and sadly, the tackles are going out of football these days.
Yes.
The ones we talk about, the crunchers, the good ones, the fair ones as well, of course.
Yeah.
You know, now it's a bit of skill, or it's a little bit of maybe a decent pass or something. But you're absolutely right. There's always something that just changes something for everybody.
Right. Last couple of minutes of our show.
Can I just say? I remember you said when Kenny Hibbert was in front of us about how much would you be today?
I've got a clue.
No, you don't be modest here, because you know you knew how to put the ball in the basket. Hardest thing to do in football.
I think I valued him at about 14 million.
14 million. That's
miles more than that.
Million.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think, you know, people say about, you know, in today's game and stuff like that, it's different. It's different. I view it as being different. Players are different generations that come through. Everybody can play and be good in their generation. Can you swap over? I think there's only certain people can swap over. I don't think I could play and score as many goals as I did playing today. I don't, honestly.
It's quite modest.
That is.
No, that's just how I see it. You know, there's players that you think the world is and who can play for anywhere, you know, and any generation and whatever. But there's other players, good players, but I don't think they can cross over.
Because we've been talking a lot recently about comparing eras and times, and I asked Looms about whether he felt he played in the best time for him. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I feel blessed and honoured that I was able to play. Yeah. You know, I was. I started as a youth at Alf Church, and then went to Cadbury's, worked at Cadbury's for a couple of years, ended up getting a break at Walsall, and then I've had 35 years out of football from a break at Walsall. So I feel that I've been really, really fortunate. I do. And I say, as I say, I wouldn't want to play today.
Okay.
I'd like the dough, but I wouldn't.
We'll talk more about that. We'll also go through your rundown, find out a little bit about your teammates at the time, and especially want to talk to you about John DeWolf as well. That'll all be on our podcast extra, but for the time being, thank you very much for watching.
The Old Gold Club, powered by Wolverhampton Building Supplies, with Mikey Burrows and Chris Iwelumo.